well. And on top of that, Stewie had a bit of an off game there, Tom. And I feel like this is a map where Stewie typically thrives too.
Yeah, historically, for sure. Like, there's a couple of moments that sort of spring to mind when you think of Stewie in this map, but yeah, I'd be surprised. But then again, the first half of the last map surprised me enough with Triumph. I think they did very well. They had a competent T side, as Maui stated, and now going into this map, I think they're going to have to surprise us once again. Now, starting off on the CT side, you might be thinking, well, why is that a bad thing? It's just what happened on the last map. The sheer, almost free-flowing Team Liquid just being able to completely dominate off of individual skill. And this is a map they're more comfortable on.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agreed with you on that one. Plus Triumph. Yesterday, I believe they played against High Coast on this map, and both teams, their CT side struggled the most as well. So even in terms of yesterday, it was a bit of an awkward encounter. Now, all 10 players still alive with a post-plant on Bomb A. This does not happen very often at all. And in amongst all this chaos, Alicia and Naf have carved themselves a path towards success with Glock headshots delivered thick and fast. And B Will's try, as he may, has been sent packing. Of course, he was the player yesterday against High Coast on B site that was always getting double kills here and there, even when they lost rounds. So probably a player to watch out for, but that pistol really couldn't have been more decisive in favor of Liquid.
Yeah, I'm normally like all four teams like being happy to like give up sites and players a retake as a team. I do feel like in these sort of maps though against Liquid, you can't do that. Like if you give them that much space, that much control to just set up for their after plants, you're going to get bodied. They're not going to throw rounds like that away. So yeah, a little bit of a rough start. We've got a double mag 7 coming in, almost as powerful as the double AWP, especially in rounds like this, but we'll see if they can actually get anything done with it. It seems like they're going to go for a heavy A stack, and while you mentioned B Wills and the double kills, he might have to get a couple more here.
My concern here for Triumph, and it's actually a point that I raised yesterday, is they were getting rounds, but they were so scrappy. And I even said, against the top teams like Liquid later in the tournament, these won't fly. You will get punished. So I'm hoping that they're going to be a lot more concrete and solid on this CT side. A fast rotation from Cooper with a Deagle. He's now up close on the B site. Some aggression from Triumph into the apps affords them the luxury of sending over a third player in the form of Cynic, who is now making moves. Still plenty of utility on both teams, and although Cooper does get dinked, it was through the wall. So minimal damage inflicted. Molly's now being tossed in. B Wills nearly boiling alive and burns to a crisp, but not before landing a crispy headshot. But Liquid have taken control of the site.
Got themselves again into a position that looks possible. The only problem is, I don't know about you, Vince, but how many double mag 7 retakes have you seen in your day? Because personally, I can think of 0.
Yeah, that's not really a statistic that typically bodes in favor of mag 7, does it?
Find the stat.
Yeah. I'm expecting it's a very, very low number, and Triumph know this, hence them looking to just try and save. Cooper's taking speculative shots, so now Cynic can make a move from the side, but there's nowhere near enough time for the actual win. So Liquid can piece out of there, and Naf just has line of sight on the bomb to be doubly sure. And speaking of doubles, Liquid now have got their second round.
Yeah, maybe a bit more damage than they would have liked, but again, it's not really going to matter too much. We can see a small amount of investment coming back in from the likes of Triumph. And hey, the double mag 7s are still standing. You never know. Maybe if there's an apps push, although I will say if you're going into a round where you know your opponents have a weak purchase, you have 4 AKs and you go towards apartments, I do question why that would be your first point of call. Unless maybe Fallen goes there with the SMG. We have seen him run and gun a little bit in that direction. But instead, double mag 7s both at the top of Banana. This could be interesting because you can definitely jump shot over that, especially now that Stewie's actually taken a bit of a tag. I wouldn't even be surprised if he ends up falling.
You called it, Tom. Mystic Tom. Tell me the lottery numbers, please, Chief.
7. You can do the rest.
I'll just guess. All right, cheers. You gave me at least one of them, so it's a better position than I would have been in.
I didn't say what country though, so there you go.
Oh yeah, crap. True. Viz with the other mag 7 is waiting in the smoke. There's a dink ahead of him that'll give him a sound cue. And he can hear the footsteps, but Grim is careful. However, his teammates are falling around him, down to a 2-on-4, with Naf putting the bullet to the head of Cynic. The bomb has been dropped out in the site. There's still 50 seconds to go, and now Grim is going to pick up the pace, shooting Cooper in the back. And although Naf is incredibly low, he can now use the mini pit as a bit of sanctuary. His teammates getting pressured and pushed into, but Grim holds the nerve and picks up both kills, salvaging the round for Liquid, which looked like it was slipping away.
Yeah, you can almost see just Sheikh Zula. He's got the picture of Grim and just like wishing that he would come back, because those are the sort of rounds that, sure, Liquid couldn't afford to lose, but when you have someone as talented as him, it almost seems like they get bailed out of situations that, well, realistically, they should have been losing. Maybe a little bit disorganized from Triumph towards the end, but you can't really harp on too much. They did a hell of a lot of damage, and actually going to come straight in with a double AWP setup as well. So looking to dominate multiple avenues of the map. Bit of aggression coming in onto Banana as well. And on the other side of things, no real bonus weapons available anymore. It's just the straight up rifles, but also a lack of bonus cash for Liquid. So a victory here could set Triumph on a decent path.
We also saw yesterday against Thai Coast on Triumph, like so many 3v5, 3v4 situations that they actually let slip away. It's a very strange game, where both teams losing advantages, both teams coming back from deficits. Now Liquid, they've lost the first player. Sheikh Zula gets aggressive outside of the Banana, but seeing no secondary player will allow his team to know what's coming up. Alige straight out with the entry onto Viz. Cynic will put one down. Additionally, another 1-for-1 trade, but now B Wills is forced back, tagged down to 5 HP. Does a fair bit of damage to fall in the process, but it's yet another clutch, another 2v2.
And again, it seems like the second Liquid get into these afterplant situations, the sheer synergy of their players is enough to drag them over the line. Incendiary not going to land as well. That was the one major piece of utility they had to try and force some uncomfortable positions. And well, it seems like the second it hasn't worked, they've just decided to fade away from the issue. That is unfortunate. A slight miss is enough to just gift Liquid over the round. And I want to mention as well, as Sheikh Zilla obviously tries to get an exit or two, I don't know how many times we've seen it over the last day or so, where it's a 3v3 situation and just somebody on the CT side just tries to go all in on like a 1v3, just tries to swing into that A site and just be the hero. And it hasn't worked once. I'm just a bit perplexed as to why there isn't more of a sort of tactical approach, maybe trying to pick one off from a safer angle, or even just wait for the retake and play it as a 3 rather than, okay, sure, you brought it into a 2v2, but ultimately that still just benefits the Ts.
It's an interesting conundrum, because I feel like against Liquid, every single close-knit angle, every single close-knit round needs to be almost perfection. And we saw glimpses of that on Nuke until the second half came around and things got a bit too scarce and difficult for Triumph. But I feel like that 2v2 kind of encapsulates the difference between the teams as well. Even these like little utility buffers that you can get into potentially winning rounds aren't quite there. Additionally, I'm pretty sure it was Triumph yesterday that were in a retake on B with 5 incendiaries, tossed them all down and saved. So like these are the kind of things that will come to the forefront and could be the determining factor. Plenty of early damage though. Sheikh Zula, to be fair to him, stands his ground on 2 HP. A lot of players would have dipped out by now.
Yeah, I feel like he might want to dip out as well. Like, there is still another HE. There's still Molotovs. A single tick would be enough to kill him. I guess at this stage, he's almost just hoping, like, okay, this is a round where we don't really have much. If I die and fall back, but yeah, decent utility damage from Liquid. Just making sure that they can take this ground, not taking any risks when they know that there is still likely some save weaponry as well. And just trying to make sure that this strong start that they've had is one that continues, because again, financially they're not in the best of spots, and Cooper with a cheeky peek into mid is actually going to gift the opening over to Triumph. And well, as we've just seen, they really didn't get many openings at all in the last map.
One thing those double mollies at the top of Banana did do, though, is force 2 smokes out from Triumph, so they're really not sat on too much utility. One of them is in the hands of Cooper, who does survive. He's actually got the last smoke. Very important for him to get the kill. Keep that smoke alive. He misses that secondary shot, and also an additional one. You can see how much it meant to him, and he knows that he had the round in the palm of his hand, and now it adds pressure to the likes of Viz, who's stuck on the site with a deagle, yet to get off the mark in terms of ADR or frags, and that won't change anytime soon, as Naf puts him down with a Glock of all weapons, and Liquid look to pick up a 5th in a row. There's an AWP and an AK allocated to Triumph. They're both moving through on short side. Flash out to Arches to allow a bit of aggression to find out information, and now that AWP shot is missed, Triumph have to once again pull the plug and save. This has got to be so frustrating.
It's a little bit odd as well, because I feel like these rounds especially have been much closer than what we saw when it came to the T side in the last map. Like Triumph are at least like getting a few picks here and there. It just seems like when it gets down to the last moments of the round, like there might be a slight mistake or a missed shot or somebody going all in. And it's like, I feel like there should have been at least 1 or 2 rounds that actually goes over to the Triumph side. It's just those mistakes that are costing them. And the issue is, eventually it's going to get to the point where either Triumph are just demoralized because of the scoreline getting so ridiculous, or it's going to get to the point where Liquid stop giving them any ins to the round. Either way, it's very, very bad in this sort of situation, even though it hasn't been particularly close. Don't normally mention the odds too much, but as you can see, clearly 1xBet really don't believe. I don't think there's many people who do it at this stage.
Yeah, they've been pretty consistent. I believe it was 1 to 10, wasn't it, previously, before the game even got started, and won't be faring too much better. Another missed shot, and the Molotov finishes off Sheikh Zula, and also tags down B Willis as well. There is a decent Molotov thrown in counter, however, does keep them at bay with a smoke behind it. I knew eventually I was going to say B Willis for Bruce Willis. It ended up happening, Tom. Took me a day, but we got there.
It'll be a bad day to die hard. Oh god, yeah, that's one of those Molotovs as well that you've just seen it like climb the wall. It's irritating. Doesn't necessarily make too much sense, but unfortunately for Triumph, it's cost them again. And they've been taking a hell of a lot of damage up Banana from utility. Like think about Shigzilla going down to what, 2 HP just a couple of rounds ago from HEs. They've had to run backwards through Molotovs. And Liquid, let's be real, they're not like the most groundbreaking Molotovs you've ever seen. It's just that Triumph are really trying to fight the issue when it comes to Banana, and it's not been going well at all.
Yeah, it's nothing too spectacular, but it is effective, and it's forcing out utility from Triumph. If they want to stand and fight, they have to throw down flushes and smokes. As a result, Cynic at the back of the site had a great moment on Nuke, but he won't be able to replicate it. Teammates falling around him, and even though they did pick up a bit of a heroic last stand, there's still 13 seconds to get the bomb down. Has now been planted. Cooper and Viz move in. Viz still not off the mark with ADR or frags. Desperately wants to get involved. Cooper is basically watching Banana. It feels like Triumph are already setting up for exits. Maybe if they get peeked down Banana, Cooper gets a pick. They do get kind of lulled back in towards the B side, but it's looking like Liquid pick up a 6th here. And this is starting to get very, very scary for Triumph. They haven't really got close in quite some time.
Yeah, I feel like it gets to the point where eventually you have to go for one of these rounds, because it's like, how many rounds realistically do you think that you're going to get on the T side versus Liquid? Because that's the number we're looking for. Like, even if you say something like 9, like it's getting to the stage where like, okay, do I genuinely think that Liquid won't get 10 here? Probably not. I think they're going to surpass that. So just having these consistent saves, these consistent, almost silly like entry frags, a player burning completely to death, a second being tagged down early and then losing his life through the smoke. Like that's another round where there's just been a slip up from Triumph, and well, it just makes things even easier. It's not like Liquid really need it at this stage either. Like they are dominating from start to finish, and the fact is, we're looking at Fallen with 6 ADR. Like, he's had nothing to do. He'll change that, though. It's always nice to bring it up and then completely changes within a second.
It's just a delayed peak as well, isn't it? Any AWP down middle is just going to have you instantly picked off. And although there's 1 kill from B Wills on Banana that's now been joined in by Cynic, the 2 of them stand against Grim, Naf, and Fallen. And they're moving up towards A site, smoking off the brackets affords them safe passage through middle, or at least it should do. Nearly. Cynic puts 2 of them down, weakens up both of them in the process. Fallen down to 29, Grim on 52, and now Fallen has been finished and finalized. 14 HP to the hands of B Wills. does have a bit of utility at his disposal, but the lack of HP and coming through the bottleneck of the balcony definitely does not pose much of a threat to Liquid. He does have a bit of time to play with at least, Tom, and he's got a kit, but the second he comes out of balcony, surely he just gets finished off.
Yeah, we've seen very few of these situations go close even when it was even, so the fact that a 1v2 with no HP, I was never really a believer in that. I do wonder when we'll see something change from Triumph, because I think that realistically their banana control has been a complete failure. Like, it's either been a 1-for-1 trade or it's just been them getting absolutely owned, and that's not the only avenue where they're actually losing players as well, so it's definitely not helpful. I stack up in maybe some of the early situations, just throwing down utility to try and get some sort of opening pick, but I think maybe once or twice now we've actually seen a kill go their way before Liquid just seemed to dominate. Now Sheikh Zula again is going to try and take that fight, and there's a response from Viz as he pushes into mid, but Elige, he may be alone, but he's still able to take so much control, and the second he does this, he just opens up space elsewhere. The only worry from Liquid's point of view is the fact that the bomb's down, but honestly, I don't even know if they'll need it.
Yeah, this just looks so disjointed for me for Triumph. You see Viz peeking middle all by himself, and Elige basically deals with them. Sheikh Zula wants to get information, wants to try and get something back in terms of momentum, but it's just shut down instantly. Triumph are moving out one by one. A lack of cover for each other. And Cynic, he's been their standout player for me, are definitely up there, but there's only so much he can do by himself. It's going to be another post plant. It's going to be another round. And I completely agree, Tom. I would like to see a timeout call here. I'd like to see Triumph, and maybe this is telegraphed, maybe this is obvious, but at this point, you've got to take Liquid out of their comfort zone. Liquid are just on autopilot. Like, this is too easy. This is looking so simple and straightforward. Call a timeout, play something aggressive, maybe try peeking down middle, push down banana, take the fight to Liquid, because if you keep sitting back like this, there's a very real possibility this goes 15-0. And although B Wills is getting some really nice extra frags with another one, at the end of the day, even if he picks up all 5, the money's fine for Liquid. It doesn't change the scoreline. You're still getting destroyed. Oh. Nice play from B Wills, but what does it mean, Tom? Basically nothing.
If he can do that at the beginning of the round, then we'll probably be off our seats, off our chairs, but yeah, it's exit kills. They wanted to hunt him down because they had so much cash that it really doesn't matter too much for Liquid. They'll come in with a perfect buy, and at this stage, removing that AWP would have actually been worth it for them. They fail, which makes it a little bit more of a cost that they probably wouldn't have wanted to had, and it does actually put their economy at least a little bit lower, but well, I mentioned 10 rounds. Like, how many realistically do you expect them to get? I don't know if we're even going to see one at this stage for Triumph. Like, it's been so dominant. They've had to go for what seems like very loose and risky peaks over the last round. Like, it was almost like a domino effect. And every single angle they seem to try and hold as well is then just removed. Like, there's a perfectly timed flash, a decent Molotov, HEs. Liquid are just almost playing with their food at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what I mean. Because of a lack of aggression anywhere and taking Liquid out of their comfort zone, it's just systematic. Again, we'll go middle together. We'll just lock down the angles. We'll make sure we get tons of real estate. Again, Arches is open, and sure, for this round, you've got a lack of a purchase on a few players. It's not ideal. So I understand the gamble stack here. It's not really an issue. They're going to get a kill into Viz. You will have an AK now to try and utilize, but A site's already been lost. But I want to see them take apps control, take some initiative on the rounds when they have rifles. If they want to build up any kind of a foundation on this half, they've got to mix it up, Tom. If you keep playing the same thing that's not been working, you're not eventually going to headbutt the wall down. You're just going to crack your skull open.
It seems like, unfortunately, we've ended in a save once again. Probably just going to be the remaining pistol players trying to defend off whoever else is sat with the rifles. 9-0, of course. I do think that realistically Triumph probably went into this series with the same expectations as us. Like, if you can take a map, if you can make it competitive, that's a good showing going forward in this tournament. And in the first map, there was evidence of that. Unfortunately, in map number 2, yeah, there's been some closer rounds, a few 2v2s lost, and a few closer situations that, again, I feel like a change in a piece of utility or a player winning their duel could have been completely different. Unfortunately, that's not the timeline we're sat on. At the moment, we're looking at Team Liquid 9-0 up. probably just sounding like a broken record because, in all honesty, Vince, nothing's really changed.
No, it hasn't. That's the thing. We're seeing a similar kind of setup again. 3 players initially over onto B. They try and get banana control, quickly repelled by a Molotov and a flash, and now Fallen's taking some aggression. And although his stats don't look great, he's just not been required. Good grenades thrown in from Triumph, well timed, and it's going to put down Fallen and Naf to 51 HP. But they still have conceded top banana control, and we're looking at 1 minute 20 on the clock. Liquid have got so much in such a short period of time.
Yeah, again, it's just really solid utility usage from Liquid. Like, they're able to clear all of these positions so easily, and it's almost like they've left a bad taste in the mouth of Triumph, that it's almost like, okay, we can't deal with that. We can't fight that. We've just lost it every single time. So it's left with probably one of the most passive CT side setups you're ever going to see. The only even inkling of aggression is based off of Cooper holding a very sort of passive angle. He's actually going to go back for a peek, but there is a player waiting. However, it's Fallen, and he's not going to get anything there. So finally, an opening goes their way. The execution actually looking to come in with 3 players ready and waiting. The rotation, however, is going to be quite far away.
Well, that's a good counter flash that completely destroyed Naf's eyes. He couldn't see anything. Viz now, different angle, but the same result. Down to the hands of Elige. Stewie now moving in. And B Wills nearly got the timing on that peek, but he won't be able to stop the bomb plant. Sheikh Zula joins him. Now moving through on arches. Stewie going for that peek, but deciding better of it on 95 HP, but his teammate Elige on 41. They can't really afford to lose a player right now, but Stewie using that angle perfectly, ripping off heads left and right, and it all falls down to B Wills, who comes out into the open, and Liquid have escaped again. 10-0.
That one's a shame. Because, again, they started off so strong, but it just seems like the fight back, again, it's Elige. It almost seems like he's come back from the previous map, just in the same sort of form, like jumping back through the apartments. Because if a player's allowed to survive in the apartments, there is absolutely no way that they manage to get that bomb down. Instead, he clears it, and they manage to fight off the remaining players on the site. And again, the second it gets into a 2v2 after plant situation, I think pretty much everybody has put all of their chips onto Liquid. Cooper is going to try and get aggressive with this AWP. He does have to be careful because they've left Elige on this lurk. A peek would be risky. I don't think he's been spotted, but any further would surely be resulting in death. Sheikh Zilla, though, a little bit cheeky. He's actually gone back into the same spot and actually finds Grim as well. That's a little bit nuts.
This is the aggression we were talking about, taking Liquid out of their comfort zone, wasting some time. It hasn't worked out this round, but I respect they're finally doing it. B Wills, look at that aggression, losing ton of his HP, but getting the drop onto Elige. But you never truly get the drop on Elige. The guy is just rapid. He is so quick on the trigger. You could have him dead to rights, he'll still spin and rip your head clean off. And now Cynic, who has some very respectable ADR on 113 come the end of this round, it may not really build up too much, but he has been probably the one shining light on Triumph, and that is why he has pixel perfect aim. Doesn't really change the final destination of where this round is coming down. He'd like to try and get his hands on a rifle if possible, but he's been tagged, and that pretty much is the red light in his eyes. He has to back away. Liquid with an 11-0 lead.
Yeah, nothing seems to be able to stop them at this stage. I'm almost hoping, for Triumph's sake, at least a round. This was cheeky. The fact that Sheikh Zilla pretends to run away and then goes back for more, I like. But I do think that Cooper actually did get punished eventually for the push forward. And especially with already then having the advantage, I guess he wanted to just try and hammer home the round. At this stage, you can't really complain too much about the risks being taken. But that advantage quickly slipped away. Again, a purchase onto the board. And it seems like they are trying to at least challenge a little bit. But again, it's the same result. Just getting owned by these early grenades. However, this time there's a bit of a response, and Grim has to back out of there. Seems like the fight this time has at least gone a little bit better.
We do see a pretty drastic change as well in terms of the style of Triumph against High Coast yesterday. They were way more passive, just giving up banana every single round. I suppose that shows the respect they have for Liquid. No one wants Execute to come in. They're going to be second best momentarily. The flashbang has connected on both players, and they clean up with Stewie on the 2K, living up to his name. He's having a much better start to this map than Nuke. He's just running into sight and getting so much success. Only 1 kill in retaliation. It's Naf that's gone down to the hands of Cooper, but we're in similar situation, Tom. They've lost control over B. It will be another post plant. And I mean, at this point, I'm just thinking, will they actually win a single round in this map?
Yeah, it's definitely a bleak situation to be in. I didn't expect it to be this dominant, although we sort of premised it at the beginning that we were worried about Liquid starting out on the T side just because of how good they've been. And well, you can see from Grim's perspective, there's almost just a moment where this just becomes disrespectful, just trying to take players down through the edge of the smoke, remove some of those weapons. Again, though, I think it has to be highlighted just how methodical the utility being thrown from Liquid is. Like the early nade damage, sure, they took the brunt of it, but that, I think it was a single flash thrown through that smoke. Just ends the round. It's done. It's over. The second that flash connects onto both players, there is absolutely nothing that can be done, and the timing through the smoke from the smoke criminal couldn't have been better. Like that was so perfect. The Molotov even clearing out the anti-flash angle, because that's normally you hide behind the sandbags, one player looking away from the flash so they can peek the second it goes off. The Molotov, the flash timing, both players blind, no chance. Perfect.
Yeah, there's always two sides to this story. Like the one side is Triumph haven't really adapted fast enough for my liking, but on the other side, you can't take anything away from Liquid. They have looked, I mean, flawless, phenomenal, Fallen. Big opening pick, aggression through onto Apps, and suppresses Cooper, who has been banished to the sidelines for the rest of round 13. Viz trying and hold on to Quad for as long as possible, but there are some HEs being tossed out, decides to back away, especially with them losing a player on Apps momentarily just beforehand. 4 players now have moved onto the A site. Triumph are clumping together, but in doing so, they've completely given up B.
Yeah, I guess at this stage you just risk it for a biscuit. Like nothing works, just stack, everyone. Like, try and hope that they walk in and maybe you can get around. Unfortunately, yeah, Liquid a little bit more methodical than to fall into the fly trap. Nice nade. Fallen gonna catch that one in his pocket, but even still, the rotation's been caught off there. Definitely gonna be going for this one, and B-Wills. It seems like he's got a bee in his bonnet. He wants to try and take the fight to them, just going straight through the smoke. Flashbang through, but Grim executes him as he makes it to the other side. Still, will continue to double key through, but Fake Zilla, 1v3. Good luck.
Yeah, I think this is another attempted save. The thing that I'm most surprised by here, Tom, is that we haven't seen a timeout call from Triumph. They've just kind of let this one simmer, and it's started to certainly burn and cooked alive for the most part. And this has been a declaration from Liquid. You know, if there were any doubters, anyone thinking that they would slip and choke this tournament where they were the firm favorites coming into it, Stewie said himself, he felt the same way. They have nothing to gain but everything to lose. So you've got to come in here, make a declaration of intent, stamp your foot on the ground and say, listen, we were the expected team to win for this reason. We are just so much better than everyone else.
You know it's bad when the only Triumph replay is 1 kill with a grenade.
Yeah, exactly.
Just the replay guy's like, come on, anything. Have we got something? Okay. Maybe we can replay this. They've got an advantage. They've done some damage to Fallen. This might be it. It's taken them a long time, but we might get a round for Triumph. Although it's now them up against 3 Liquid players and the caster curse, so we'll see if they can do it.
Tom is he's got quite a powerful curse, I'm not gonna lie. Every time I've casted with you, Tom, you've always cursed a player or a team, so
you had a full head of hair when we started casting.
Exactly.
And then I was like, it'd be a shame if it fell out. And
overnight from an afro to just purely bald. Feels good, man. 1 minute left. Fallen tagged down to 37. Again, seems like they have the target painted on the B side of the map. They've got enough utility to execute 2 mollies and a smoke. 2 smokes now picked up. Good counter smoke was deployed as well, and they're just keeping Naf in middle to make sure they don't get pincered on. There's no quick rotational play in effect. So here come the grenades. He's going to be sat there. Shows how much confidence he has and the ability of his two teammates to crack open his sight between the two of them and allows him to go for that later flank round the back. Now, he's been caught in transition. That may throw a wrench in the works for any fast rotational play because they're still very much sacrificing onto the site. Now, Stewie is still alive, still kicking and still taking some frags down, running out of ammunition, just one bullet left in the magazine, and Cynic puts him down and Triumph finally have a round.
Well, at least there's some smiles on the faces because it must be a little bit bitter, but at least it's not a 16-0. They've killed the dream. It's not happening for Liquid. They could at least, well, they're not going to get kicked while they're down, I guess. But yeah, I don't think this is really going to change anything. Plenty of money to purchase into the final round of the half, and well, Liquid just going to try and continue this run of form. Now, it definitely was said that both teams were better on the T side in the last map, but even still, Liquid win the pistol. This game is done. They manage a few of those cheeky plays we've seen throughout this series from them. This game is done. So even if they win this round, pretty much, hopefully there'll be a little bit more wind in the sails of Triumph, maybe earn a bit of pride back versus the top team from their region. And well, for now at least, looking a little bit more cagey than some of the rounds we've seen, because Liquid are going to take their time.
Triumph do have the double orbs. Cooper will be okay behind that Molotov and actually peeks out. It didn't extend enough to get any sound cues about that, but now another Molotov down behind there. Smoke allows him safe passage to escape, keep himself alive, keep that player advantage in effect for Triumph, and maybe they are going to end in strong fashion, posting up 2 rounds back-to-back. Grim tagged down, but still alive before Viz just protrudes around the edge of the smoke on the periphery and is putting down more pain. Another kill goes to Viz. Great to see him get in amongst the action towards the end of the half, but Grim and Fallen still remain for Liquid.
Fallen, you mentioned him not having much to do, but it's not going to be enough for the 1 versus 4. It has been dominant from Liquid. They've just got to try and close it out in half number 2. Well, it's safe to say the first half wasn't particularly close. 13-2, and those last two were the last two of the half. So basically, Team Liquid dominated all the way through, and unless Triumph can do a couple better, this is going to be a fairly fast affair, especially with now the CT side kicking off for Liquid. However, Vince, it looks like Stewie might be about to come under a fair bit of pressure.
Oh, smoke criminal for a reason. Through the smoke into the head of Cynic, and he will be looking for more. Doesn't get it though. Cooper wraps around the back of him. Now, to be a bit more optimistic, Triumph looked far better on their T side yesterday against High Coast than their CT side. And the same could have been said for Nuke just a few moments ago. So maybe this is where they really start to come alive. Grim puts the bullet down range onto B. Wills, and there is the successful pistol we were looking for. Try and pick it up, saving 3 players in the process. And now the pressure, not quite on Liquid, but it's at least mounting in the distance.
Yeah, I guess this, if you're talking about a light at the end of the tunnel, this would be like one of those energy-saving light bulbs where it takes a few minutes to turn on. I think we're all going to be holding our breath a little bit before believing in any sort of Triumph comeback, but it's a good start. It's something at least. They do have to be careful, though, because we've seen it already within this very series that Team Liquid can definitely make it work with the pistols. In fact, the second round of the last map, or the second half of the last map, was won by Elige almost alone with his AK-47, and he's there again.
The only bit of reprieve is he's not going to push in to pick up the weapon, so he still has the Deagle, hasn't upgraded, and no one from Liquid's interested. They instantly rotate 2 players off. This is where that gamble stack starts to come into fruition again. He knows he's taken some utility alongside the kill onto Sheikh Zula. That could force Triumph into a bit of a desperation push. The smoke starts to clear. Naf misses his chances, but there are more players behind it. Boost up from the UMP for Stewie, but he gets tanked down to 29, and now 4 with the scout. Needs to be careful. He nearly finished off Stewie in the back. And instead, Stewie gets sprayed down through the smoke himself. And with Triumph picking up 2 and moving across to the site, it's looking good that they'll pick up a 4th round.
Yeah, for a moment, I thought we were going to see the save come out from Liquid, but still seems like they think they can win this. Molotov into the back corner. Fallen actually lands the headshot on Cooper as well. So back into a 3v3. Nice work from Viz and B-Wills, though. A good crossfire to deny them. And Fallen not going to be able to do anything this time. So 13-4. Triumph, a streak of 4 rounds. And now for Team Liquid, not really going to be able to invest anything into this round. Maybe Elige can get an extra pistol, a Deagle to try and do some damage, remove some of the weaponry for the next round. But ultimately, they and we are going to be waiting for their buy.
Yeah, Fulham was the only other player that could reasonably go for a pistol, but of course he wants to save for the AWP, so he'll be staying at $3,000. And Stewie with the Deeg is peeking down Banana, not too far off connecting the shot, but he takes 76 HP for his troubles. And he would have paid it gladly had he have connected that Deagle. Instead, Fallen is the first casualty to fall. The blood has been spilled, and it goes the way of Triumph, who get a second, and it's Cynic and both of them, 16-9, even though his team trailed by 13-4. Goes to show how well he's been playing in amongst all the defeats that they were suffering earlier.
Yeah, the fact that he can put up numbers against a team that they should not even be close to beating is not a bad sign for matches to come. Stewie trying to use the fountain. I think the player on the other side would have been quite frustrated if he got away with that. And actually, is Grim going to get away with an egg here? No, he's not. Viz, good timing. It's only a Galil loss, not really the end of the world. 5 in a row. Streak continues. They're going to need at least another 10 to make this interesting, but now we get the purchase. This is where things change. Fallen Zorp, as you mentioned, will be coming in straight off the bat, and the rest of the players still able to get a pretty decent amount of utility. The only thing missing is a kit.
Interestingly, Fallen actually had the best spawn to peek middle, but they're going to go for a boost instead, or at least they were thinking about it, and it seems like they pulled the plug. It didn't quite work for them. Bit of an awkward exchange. So Elige backs away. They won't be making the most of that good spawn. Instead, though, Banana control being established by Stewie, and you see the vast difference in how Liquid were approaching Banana control as opposed to Triumph, who are way slower on the uptake. Now, they may realize there's going to be a lack of utility in this first rifle round from Liquid, and so they can try and just draw out as many grenades as possible before they end up hitting towards top Banana, which is all well and good. And Liquid, who were flirting with the idea of trying to fight for Banana, have now backed away. But they do have that third player coming in, which will be the Brazilian himself, Fallen, coming into play with the AWP. Now he's going to go for the peek and spot Shake Zula. Instantly nullifies him and tags B Wills through the wall.
Fallen has always been truly terrifying. Even with the previous team, with KNG as the primary, he would secondary AWP towards Banana quite regularly. And that was definitely something to fear. Probably one of the best double AWPs we saw on this map. But for now, he's got the only one in hand. 30 seconds up and coming on the clock, and the execution about to begin. Grim, good spot. And actually, well, who's going to expect Elise to be there as well? He drops back, takes the second name. Stewie's rotated in, but they might be able to isolate him. And actually now there's a real chance for Triumph as they will get the plant.
Plant down 2-on-2. Both teams have identical firepower. 1 AWP apiece, 1 AK apiece. A smoke for Liquid, but that lack of kit starting to become a bit more of an issue. This will force Liquid's hand to play a bit more aggressively. In doing so, one corner may go unchecked. Fallen having none of it. That experience shining through, and now Cynic, who has been the pick of the bunch, goes down to Naf. And there should be enough time for the defuse. They got there just in the nick of time, and although Triumph had their chance, it has slipped away, and with it, maybe the map will follow.
It's the same once again. I think, again, just you have the experience of Liquid just shining through in these like 2v2 situations. They're just strong communication, crossfires. It was exactly the same on the T side. Like, bear in mind, sure, the map score overall looks very, very dominant, but in, say, the first 6-7 rounds, there were a hell of a lot of 3v3s, 2v2s, and every single time Liquid was coming out on top. Again, retaking, it doesn't seem to be any different. And while Fallen, I thought for a second he was going to try and get a little bit cheeky, but instead it seems to be that he might be trying to set up a lead.
Flashing out, did go for a peek for a couple milliseconds before deciding of it. Double Molotovs put down onto Banana. Slightly extending and singeing Stewie's toes, but he's okay to stand his ground. HE tossed in, Shake Zula down to 61 as a result. Flash up and over is successful at keeping Stewie away for about a second. And now the two of him and Naf do back away to the site. Again, they have a good read of the situation, not staying around for too long to get hit by any HEs or any flashes. And in doing so, a third player has moved in again.
Almost seems to be the case with Liquid at the moment. Excuse the pun, but they are very free-flowing, constantly moving, constantly switching up their positions. And Cooper, he spotted one, but with the utility, small amount of it being extended to try and deny the push, it's going to buy an extra 15 or so seconds to try and force them away. He also has an incendiary as well, so if they try for a late take, it's only going to become more awkward and allow for Stewie to rotate back into position. He's on his bike once again to try and get back on spot.
"20 seconds, smoke comes down, flash behind it. Liege lining up the incendiary. They're going to have to push through the fire and the flames if they want to get to the spike, and in doing so, the white swing comes in, but it's all going the way of Triumph. They've held their nerve, held their resolve. No more players to deal with them. And even though time is scarce, there's more than enough time for the bomb plant. The Triumph, they do continue moving forward in the right direction. And it's not like Liquid have fantastic guns. They've got the AWP, that's great. But the MP9 alongside it, not too much in terms of financial support behind that either. So Triumph have a golden opportunity to string together a few rounds here and at least try and play for a bit of pride. It's a term that you used earlier, and I think it's absolutely spot on here, Tom. When you are the vast underdogs and no one's really expecting you to do anything, if you can even get towards like double digits on Inferno, a lot of people will respect that outcome. So just keep pressing forward one round at a time, keep Liquid's economy down in the dirt, and who knows, maybe you can pull this fully back.
I think as well, it might just be my perspective rather than others. I feel like when you get a completely new team, like getting your T sides under control, like getting everybody on the same page can be a little bit easier because most of the time, well, as you can see, like especially on Nuke, for example, they were reliant on Shake Zilla to take a lot of ground and a lot of space and then having their set execute. Whereas I feel like CT sides are always going to be a little bit more difficult because it revolves very much around your synergy, your rotations, your calling, your communication to be almost perfect, especially versus a team this strong. So the fact that the T sides already look pretty decent, I think the rest of it might just come with time. And then this team really will be fearsome once again. And again, props have to go to Shakezilla for the fact that their T-sides do seem to be very good. Last round, at least, I do wonder if Liquid were a little bit more patient. Like, they had the Incendiary down. If they'd waited for that to completely burn out, there would have been only about 10 seconds. And then, well, it's probably a panic from Triumph. So maybe peaking a little bit early, but again, it's one of those situations where they're so far in front, I feel like they just want to finish these rounds off as quickly as possible.
And these are the kind of moments in the plays that I was talking about before in Triumph from the CT side that we never really saw them go for these mid peaks, these aggressive moments like a leash pushes down. And even if they're unsuccessful, it stays in the back of the mind of your enemies. They know at any given round, any given point, you could get pressured again. And that forced them to play a bit more stagnant around middle, throw out some extra utility that maybe is going to just fall on deaf ears. Meanwhile, though, Cynic, through the smoke, through the head of Stewie, does give Triumph the advantage one more time. 40 seconds, all four of them clumped together on B, and they will be hitting this momentarily. Grim catches a stray grenade. He's down to 63. I'm not necessarily feeling like this is a guaranteed round, though, because Fallen does have the AWP. Push to the back of the site, but Shakezilla removes his head.
Again, the time ticking, but it's not going to play a part. Grim would have to do something truly impressive, and Naf on the other side of the map is committed to just making sure he has a rifle going into the next round. Any extra money will be welcomed, especially with the look at Fallen's economy. Making sure he has an AWP in hand with that extra cash that they've garnered. It might be possible now. But again, yeah, Triumph looking solid. Of course, this round definitely had its pieces missing for Liquid. It's not one of the more solid buys they've had, but I think the other thing as well that I want to give credit to Triumph for is the fact that they're still going. They've still got that resilience to continue to try and push this match, because I'll be honest, like, speaking from personal experience, which obviously is anywhere near this level. I do suck at the game, but I think it's so easy to tap out when you're that far down. When you're 13-0 down, can you really blame anyone for just being like, oh, what's the point? But they still seem to be sticking to pretty much all the methods that have been brought in by Shakezilla, following everything to a T, nobody taking anything overly aggressive or risky, and just working as a squad. So I respect it.
Yes, do I. And I think a very positive sign is when they did win their one round to kick things off. It was 13-1. You saw smiles. You saw players relieved. They weren't taking it at the end of the world. They know that it's still early on in this progress. Shakezilla, speaking of the man that was cracking open many a time on Nuke, he's came out with 2 quick fire frags, and in doing so, they can wrap around onto the A site. It's Grim alone. The timing on that weapon switch could not have been worse. And to add insult to injury, B Wills back towards T spawn on the ramp, has suppressed one before he is counted by Naf. This was a fully invested round, and Liquid will be losing it again. So Triumph are getting into that kind of territory now where they're beginning to ask a few questions of Liquid. Don't get me wrong, Liquid still are the massive favorites to convert this map and make it theirs. But considering at one point it was 13-0, you've got to give a lot of credit to Triumph for having that resolve to just stay in there, stick in there until the bitter end.
They're enjoying it as well. Like, even when they got their first round on the board, we saw smiles across the board. I have to ask though, Vince, like, for me, I normally look towards like maybe 11 rounds as my sort of marker to go, okay, this now becomes possible. Is yours further, or are you a little bit more optimistic than I am?
For me, it's like 10, but I would say because of the golf in sort of tactics and individual skill, I need Triumph to get up to like 12. But normally I'd say 10 rounds is when I begin to believe it. I think at any given moment, Liquid could just have like a stellar round from Elige or Naf, and it's just done, with any weapon in the game. Could be a Deagle, could be a Mag 7, could be anything. So yeah, even though it's been great from Triumph, I definitely can't write off Liquid until we start getting towards that 12 round mark. And that's a good flash, but unfortunately, kind of hurt himself for the process there a little bit.
I thought for a moment he was actually going to get away with something there, but again, it's probably just going to fall into a save. Now, they did find a pick early in the round off Naf, so I think they're going to go hunting for that weapon. Viz is actually aware of this. He's read this almost perfectly, but the trade actually works out just as well. Even if he'd got rid of the weapon from earlier, he's now handed Elige an AK, and well, we've seen what he can do with this gun throughout the first map, so probably not a bonus weapon they wanted to give over. Realistically, they could hunt this down, but I don't think Triumph want to even give that extra boost of confidence to Liquid of failing to take these weapons away. So not going to be a massive hump from them, making sure their own economy stays strong. And Triumph, even with that weapon being lost and the ult being saved, they're going to make it up to 9. So again, this is a position we were sat 13-0 down. I never believed we would get anywhere near this scoreline. If it goes much further, I am going to have to start looking at Liquid and go, have you got a bit complacent? Because this is a scoreline that I never expected to see, even just this far.
No, I'm right alongside with you as well, Tom. I mean, we kind of painted the picture that Triumph are a much better team on their T side from what we've seen over the last couple of days. But even then, against Liquid, you just think they're going to close this one out. Even after the pistol, you're thinking, all right, fair enough. Once Liquid get rifles, it's business as usual. This is going to be like a 16-5 sort of scoreline. Absolutely not. Triumph now starting to turn the screws, starting to make Liquid feel a little bit uncomfortable. Again, Liquid, I feel like they're not going to be panicking too much just yet. This is where you're expecting sort of that calm voice from Moses to come in maybe and steady the nerves a little bit. At Triumph, they are getting towards the top of Banana already, and whereas Liquid were fighting for this round after round, they've completely given it up now. They're playing way more static on the back of the site.
It's been a bit of a rough time for Fallen as well. Definitely had his moments here and there, but a missed shot would almost make this whole setup fall apart. Like, you can't expect Naf to get a multi-frag, or at least more than 2 from his position, especially as it's normally Molotoved as well. Fact is, though, it seems like he's slowly making their way towards this A site instead. 3 players will be ready and waiting, although it hasn't been going amazingly, and it looks like they might be tempted to try and make a play through this smoke, expecting potentially someone to be close around it, but all this has really done is given info over to Stewie, and with the time ticking away, they really do have to get a move on.
There's very little room for error here, but some great utility toss towards the back of the pit. Unleash now pivoting around 2 excellent headshots. 14 seconds. Grim just needs to get 1 kill. That may be good enough, but Cooper is up to the task, and he obliterates the head. 2v2 retake, but Fallen needs to catch up to Naf, who's already made a move into the alcove. Bit of an awkward position. Only 2 flashes between the 2 of them, and B-Will's peeking out. And this is an audacious peek, considering that you're against an AWPer of Fallen, but still gets away with it, doubles up, and Triumph have hit the double digits.
Yeah, that might be one of the cockiest angles that I've ever seen. Like, he was completely open to that arch side, but was just almost like, okay, all right, I'm going to fight you. And I think it genuinely did get to the stage in this match where they had absolutely nothing to lose. They've now hit Vince's magic number 10, and I don't know, Liquid have looked rough. Like I said, we go back, well, I guess 10 rounds. That's probably the easiest way to work it out. And you're looking at Liquid win every single clutch, every 2v2, 3v3, every single one went their way. This time, though, Fallen, his AWP is going to kick things off with an opener. The nades will force him back, however, so Banana control goes again. In fact, oh, he might have nightmares about that. About 4 different grenades landing on his position. Still, though, it's a lot of utility for very little gained. And in fact, Vince, that's all the Molotovs they had.
Precisely. And Fallen still has 56 HP, so it's not like he sat around, 5 HP or something and he's scared of a stray bullet killing him. He can be a little bit more aggressive as a result of that. But they have dipped away. They got the opening pick that they were so desperate for. They fall back into position. Viz with a good spot. Spotted the first player crossing. That'll be information relayed to the rest of his teammates who are making moves up middle. Flash proceeds to push, but Alicia's aim on point for the first. Grim misses out. It was a FAMAS, but still, he's got to get that secondary frag. And now Stewie is stuck on the site alone. 2 weakened targets to potentially finish off, but he gets pre-fired round the corner. And in doing so, it's another post plant.
Yeah, they're out as well. They've left. They've just backed out of the round. It's almost looking like identical situations. And I feel like so far as well, Vince, we've not been given enough credit over to the Triumph side. Like, Cynic and B-Wills over the last half have been ridiculous. 24 and 21 kills. They're now the top 2 fraggers in the entirety of the server, which, considering what the scoreline was, that is mental. And in all honesty, Liquid have fallen flat. Like, you mentioned it. Like, Grim... Let's put it this way. If it's the first half, I don't even know if he would have been needed. His teammate probably would have got both kills. Instead, advantageous positions are now starting to slip away from Liquid. A 5v4, another kill coming in as they push into mid. and still they managed to lose the round as the trades are so effective from Triumph. I want to see a pause come in. I want to see Liquid now take some time because, well, it's been a long time since I've said this, but this is almost looking like a Liquid choke.
I totally agree. I was expecting to see a timeout there. I really was, because they've got a buy, they've got options now available to them, and they're still just running ahead with it. No timeouts called in this match, and two very one-sided T-half performances. That is somewhat surprising. Grenades have come down. Minimal damage inflicted to both teams. That is a dunk of a grenade, though. B-Wills dropped to 3 HP instantly, and now they're going to look for a boost behind it. There's a player still up close in that smoke. If Sheikh Zula times this correctly, he'll have both players, and the leaning tower of CTs has been toppled. And in doing so, they're hemorrhaging players once more. Now, they may not anticipate a third player to be over here, so maybe Naf gets the drop as a result of having that surprise factor, but he doesn't realize there's a player up close. He gets caught with the smoke. What the hell is going on, Triumph? How's Naf survived that?
Oh, he did so well to get 2 kills, but then Sheikh Zula, what just happened? I think he was surprised as Naf was to find someone in that smoke, but Cooper has been given a chance. Elige is going to go pushing, though the timing's not going to give him anything, but what? Now Elige misses as well. This round is falling apart completely, and Grim is left to try and save it. He's wrapped around through Banana. Incendiary thrown over will clear one angle, but Cooper's just waiting. He's holding. A single bullet will do the trick, but he's not quite going to get it. A roller coaster of a round, and Liquid, well, it's a sigh of relief.
Maybe call a timeout just here, Liquid, so you can all catch your breath. Because, geez, that was just so back and forth and just ludicrous. There were so many moments in this round. There's the first. Sheikh Zula just catches the two of them boosted over. 2 frags, and Naf was caught in the smoke. Sheikh Zula misses his chance. He's thinking, okay, Liquid, you got this done. And then out of nowhere, more frags come in for Triumph. But whichever way you spin it, after so many rounds back-to-back, because Liquid had such a vast lead, they still have 4 match points. And I said before, Tom, they needed to have a declaration, you know, being planted down, the flag saying this is our tournament. I think that's been soured somewhat. Even if they win 16-11, there will be some questions asked of Liquid.
Yeah, for sure. Again, like Triumph, I'm sure they're not going to be happy with what happened in the first half, but the sheer resilience to keep fighting this back, and like even just a few whiff shots, like even Elige towards the end there, like it looked like that was an easy kill onto Cooper, and it doesn't quite go his way. Now this could be the end, but the fact is the money isn't great for Liquid. They've already used nearly all of their utility. 2 flashbangs and Fallen. It's going to burn down low. It is still the kill to come in first onto Viz, but we know that thus far Triumph have been great at fighting these rounds back.
Elige will get the timing peak though with a FAMAS. That's the bomb that drops down alongside Sheikh Zula. Double stack in pit. Will be a difficult crossfire to contend with, but Cynic on 24 frags, make that 25. He's got to try and pull this one out the embers. B-Wills, last man standing, 1v3, 20 HP to his name, bombed down in an awkward position. And this could be a devastating blow for Triumph. They've battled back. They've been so heroic, shown so much grit and tenacity, but it may be for naught. He's waiting for a peak to come through, but he has to take the initiative here, Tom. He's only got 20 seconds to play with.
There's no time. Like, what can he do here? We need to turn on a spin bot, but hey, that's not a bad start. First kill goes his way, but it won't be enough. We were talking about the dominant side of Liquid, but